Welcome back to the IE427 garage, everybody. We're working on the Coupe today, and we're going to start in the back of the car, and I'm going to show you, we finally got that panel, that missing panel for the under hatch area, and I'm going to show you what's going on with that. I think I'm going to be forced to make a new panel. All right, let me start by saying this. I applaud anybody who wants to explore new things, meaning you have little or no experience, for instance, in metal shaping and metal forming, and you want to get into it, so you get yourself the tools and you want to start, creating, with these new tools, and hopefully your newfound skills. You don't want to experiment on someone else's car. And I'm going to show you why. Because this is what you get into, and then you hand this off to another builder, and now it's the second builder's responsibility to fix this. So we got the panel back, and I'm going to go over this directly, but the car owner had, he had it outside, and he took a picture of it. Let's just say pictures of it do not do it justice, because this thing is so messed up that I think I'm better off starting with a new piece of metal and starting over, because it's so bad. The previous builder must have got himself a bead roller, again, which I applaud. I've got a bead roller here. I'm going to use that bead roller to make panels in the footbox area of Ellie, the Maverick project. But I have experience with metal shaping and metal forming, and I know my limitations. The reason that you would want to put beads in a particular panel is to keep the panel from tin canning. And so what is tin canning? Tin canning is when you have a panel that's stretch across two frame members or chassis members, and as the heat of the sun or the heat inside the car causes the metal to expand or contract, the metal will pop. And how we combat that in these cars is generally we're putting some type of heat and sound mat in the car, and then we're putting carpet on top of it. So I would have had no issue with just having a flat panel in here. I experienced tin canning in Slytherin when I first assembled it and didn't have the trunk carpeted. The wife and I, Mrs. IE427 and I, were on a ride with the group, and as we were riding through, I can remember this vividly. We were at the Riverside Racing Museum, which has since closed down, but for a service for a friend. And we were leaving the service, and as we were leaving, we were just driving through the parking lot at real low speed, probably 5-10 miles an hour, and all of a sudden we heard this pop, and I'm like, what? It sounded like a tire had blown, and I pulled over, I stopped, I opened the trunk up, and I'm going, what the hell was this? And then it dawned on me. That was before I put the drop trunk in Slytherin, and so that big panel there only had, I knew I was going to do a drop trunk, and so I had only put rivets in the outlying areas of the trunk, so basically around like the outside perimeter of the trunk, so that I wouldn't have holes down the center of the cross tubes when I put the drop trunk in, right? And so that panel was basically unsupported in the center. It was just resting on those frame members, and that noise, it's unmistakable. So I understand, I think, the rationale for putting the beads in this panel. But I also see the inexperience in it. So if you've never run a bead roller, what you want to do is you want to give yourself a straight line to run down, so that you can visually see and keep the bead roller on that line all the way down. This builder did not do that. Now, he did not too bad with some of the shorter beads. Like, this one's pretty straight. This one's not so much. It kind of, if you look at it, it does this. This one here is just terrible. I mean, it looks like somebody got drunk in the middle and veered off the road and came back and then went too far the other way. And I don't know. And most of the shorter ones, you know, they're not too bad. And it seems like after he did a couple, he may have decided to put some lines on. But the line should be in the center of your bead, not on the side. It's easier to line it up in the center because you can visually see it when you're eyeing the center of the bead tool that's on the bead roller. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you have to understand, when you're bead rolling, you're displacing some of the metal. So as the bead is pulling the metal together, it deforms the outer edges. So he did nothing on this outer edge to keep it from wrinkling. And so if we sight this thing over here, I'm gonna drop the camera down in here. You can see it goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. All that is basically that aluminum pulling together, and it's causing the edge to shrink, and it has nowhere to go. And so when it has nowhere to go, it's just gonna, you know, pop or bubble up. I don't know that that's the right term for it, but that's what it looks like. So we've got the panel, and I can use it as a template. It already has most of the drilled holes in it, so I can use those drilled holes to kind of place mine so that hopefully I'll hit the chassis in the right spots down below. I'm gonna have to make the oval for this so that it'll still have access to the fuel pump. We're putting a drop trunk box in there. That's kind of where this all started. I have that box that I made for this a while back. I want to put this in the area right here. So as much as I'd like to use the piece that's here and just cut this area out, I've got real issues with the front of that. Even if I were to shove it under that other piece, I don't know if it'll flatten out. I might try to see if I can do that. I might try to slide the back piece under the front piece, drill through both, and cleco it down and see if it, but the problem is that metal's got nowhere to go. And so I think it's just gonna wanna keep popping up. So we've got quite a mess on our hands with this back panel, and we ran into some other issues too. I've been trying to stay ahead of parts that the car owner needs to purchase, stuff that's missing. You know, we went through, you know, the gas pedal. We've got some other issues. We've had this panel that was missing. So I'm trying to stay ahead of that so that I'm not burdening him like every day. Hey, we need this, we need this. So hopefully, you know, most of these orders that we're making at the auto parts supply houses have more than one item on them, so we're not getting killed with shipping. But we ran into an issue with the fuel filler. I went upstairs because I was dealing with the fuel tank this past week, and I started looking around, and we're missing parts. So the primary piece that we're missing is that metal tube that comes out of here, the fill tube. It comes out of here and it gets cut in two pieces. And remember, on the Coupe, the fuel filler's up here, so you got to kind of snake it down here by cutting the metal fill tube that they supply with the Mark IV into 2 pieces, and then they give you some rubber hose. Actually, one of them's like neoprene or silicone, a 90, and then some straight fuel hose that's the same as you would use in the Mark IV. But we're missing that metal tube. So I think what I may do is I may research and see if we can use the stock Mustang fill tube, because it's 2 inches outer diameter, just like the one from Factory 5, and cut that to make it work for the Coupe. I think with the pieces that we have, because I actually have some of that extra rubber hose, the straight stuff from Mark IV kits, because generally you only need about 4 to 6 inches of that stuff, and they send you a piece that's about 1 foot long. And so I try to just use the pieces that I have before I cut into a new full long piece. And I think I have 1 or 2 of those hoses upstairs, so we're good there. But that was missing from all the parts for this as well. We do have that silicone or neoprene 90, and we have the clamps that came with the Le Mans cap and whatever the other hoses were. So there we should be okay. If I have to, buy some more clamps isn't a big deal. But one more thing we're missing, and it's hard to gain momentum every time I run into one of these problems. It's like I lose momentum on the project, and then the rest of the day just kind of drags on. I don't know how else to explain it. If you've ever had a home improvement project that's like that, it turns into work. And I don't want this to become work. This is my hobby. And so I'm trying to make the best out of it and trying to sidetrack myself on certain things just to stay busy so that I don't lose interest in the car altogether. But I know where a lot of you guys come from. You get into this project, you're a year and a half in, and it just seems like it's never going to end. Well, I'm kind of there with this project right now, and it's really tough to I don't want to say keep interest in it, but keep the energy level up. So I'm trying to do things to keep myself busy and occupied so that while I'm waiting for parts to come in, that I have something to do and I'm not losing so much time on the car, but we are losing time. That's the bottom line. That's where I'm at tonight. Tomorrow, I think I'm going to jump back on the fabrication of the covers for the wiring on the engine. I've got to get over to the other side. I've got to make a matching piece to this because I want to get this piece ready to go to the powder coater, and I also want to get these pieces at least rough cut so that I can cut a hole for this to kind of be there and get this laid out and probably pre-drilled so those pieces can go to the powder coater as well. I know I'm going to have some pieces that have to go to the powder coater later, but at this point I just want to get a good sized batch, maybe 12 to 14 pieces sent to the powder coater, because the more pieces I give him, the better price he can give me. Taking 1 and 2 pieces to the powder coater at a time, it seems like it's inexpensive, but when you add up the cost plus all the time it would take you to go to the powder coater shop and go back later and pick up the parts, all that stuff adds up. So I'm trying to be as efficient as I can to get as many panels over to him at once and then get those back and then continue work on the car. So that's what I'm going to work on tomorrow night. I will catch up with you guys tomorrow. Work is continuing here on the Coupe today. I've got the front chassis harness out. I'm trying to figure a way to get this thing as hidden as I possibly can, and I've gone through a couple of things with the car owner when he was here the other day. We're trying to figure out where to run things, basically to hide them the best that we can, so that when you open the hood or pull the bonnet forward, you're not just inundated with wiring. I'm still working on the wireway or cover for all the wiring right here on this side. I'll probably get that done either today or tomorrow. It just all depends on how my schedule goes. But the chassis harness, I really got to get on this, and I got to get the chassis harness run down the tunnel right here for the back of the car. But what I'm waiting on there is getting the fuel lines back in place. So I may tentatively just run the chassis harness down the tunnel, just basically leave it laying on top of the transmission and kind of held in place in the back until I get the fuel lines back in. And the reason I'm waiting on the fuel lines is because we've got this panel that's going to be going out to powder coat in the next couple of days. But I want to get the panel I'm making for here, the panel I'm making for the other side, and this second panel that's going to basically be the wireway cover for the passenger side of the engine before I go to the powder coater, because that'll give me probably about 12, 13 pieces that I'm taking to the powder coater, and I can always get a better price. And I'm going to tell you guys this too. I know a lot of guys try to take all their panels in at once, which is great. But what you're going to find is as you go through the build and you find these little add-on things that you want to do to your car, you're going to end up with a couple of straggling panels that you're going to have to take to the powder coater anyway. So don't feel bad if you have to make, a second or even a third trip to the powder coater. I generally get away with 2 to 3 trips to the powder coater for parts per car. But a lot of times that's overlapping, so if I've got 2 vehicles going at the same time, which I do here in the shop, I can take panels that are for one car and possibly go in a different color, and panels that are going for this car, the Coupe, and take them all at once. But I still get my bulk price discount because I brought so much into the powder coater all at once. So keep that in mind. Like I said, if you kill yourself trying to get them all done, you're probably going to end up with 1 or 2 panels that you take, that you've custom fabricated at the end of the project anyway. So I don't get too caught up in, having to take all the panels at once. I just want to make sure I take enough panels all at once that I get a better price. So that's where I'm at today. If I have anything to show you after I kind of work and get everything done today, I'll bring you back. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow. A little music update. AC/DC, you shook me all night long. Ordered a belt for the power steering. I think I told you guys about that in the last video. And I ordered this 28.1 inch belt. Now this is a stretch fit belt. However, you can use this as a regular belt. And that's what our plan was, to use this on the power steering pump for the Gen 2 Coyote. It's a little long. So what I did, I've been looking for every combination of numbers to get me the right size belt. So if you go back to the previous video, I believe the one that comes with the power steering pump is a 26.7 inch belt. So essentially a 27 inch belt. And the problem with it is it puts, let me see if I can climb in here and give you an idea of kind of where it puts the pump and what my concerns are. So it puts the pump basically in the position that it's in right now. So I'm holding the camera level, but you can see how the pump is like way turned this way. And you have to put it that close or closer, believe it or not, to get the belt to go over the 2 pulleys. So with a 26.7 inch belt, I figured, oh, well, I've got at least another inch that if I move, you can see me moving the pump, all the way out to here basically is what I have, where it's contacting the head now over here versus up here. I measured it out at basically 28 inches. Well, the belt's too loose. So I went back online, and the problem with a lot of belts in this size category is they're not 6 rib belts, they're 4 rib belts. And I've gotten past that. I've just decided that if a 4 rib belt will work, it's only a power steering pump. There's nothing else that drives off of that belt. I'll try that. So I found a 27.5, I think is what it is. So it's a KO40275, so 27.5 inch. So that's the effective belt length. And that's supposed to be here tomorrow, Monday. We'll see if it fits. If it doesn't, I'm out of options. I've got no more belts that I can find in that size category that are gonna fit. So I'm gonna be forced to go with the belt that came with it, which isn't the end of the world. I've only spent a few dollars on each of these belts. I ordered them off of, I did all the research online. I used O'Reilly's website, I used the Rock Auto website, I used any other parts house website that listed the belt lengths. Because even though the part number may be 27.5, you have to look at the effective belt length, and sometimes it's longer or shorter. So just because that last number is the number you're looking for doesn't necessarily mean that's the effective length of the belt. I found that out when searching belts for Slytherin way back when, because in the configuration I have the belts on the front of the small block Ford to go around the power steering pump, the alternator, all that kind of stuff. It was an odd size belt, and so I had to kind of go in between two different belts and see which one was going to work the best. So moving beyond that, I've got another belt coming. It's supposed to be here tomorrow. I'm going to try it. But if it doesn't fit, we're just going to have to go with the one that it basically came with, and it's just going to have to be that close to the head, bottom line. I don't know why this one is the way it is. The only explanation I can come up with is the fact that this is a truck engine versus a Mustang engine, which possibly the heads are different, but I don't understand myself why they would manufacture two different heads, but they may. So that's where we're at with the belt. I did get finished up with the wireway cover for this side. I've got some fine tuning to do right now. I've got it a little bit closer to the valve cover on this side than I do in the back, but that's just a matter of changing the height of my stop nuts. But I'm pretty happy with where it's at, so I'm gonna take these both off, and even from the front, I managed to get them close to the same angle. So if you look at them from here, you can see that they're about the same angle. They both kind of come over the top and then lean down and back, which is kind of the way I wanted them. I wanted to get it as low as I possibly could and manage to cover up the wire. So I think once those are powder coated black, they're gonna look really nice. So that's where I'm at with the covers for the wireway. I think that's where I'm gonna leave this video. I think next time what we'll do is we'll pick up on these panels on the front. So I'm gonna start working on these panels right here, the one that goes here and the one that goes there this afternoon and this evening, and then the next video will obviously start there. But I'm pretty happy where we're at on the panels. Once I get these two panels fabricated, all these panels will go to the powder coater. And then I'm gonna start work on this back panel, because this back panel is just so far out of shape that, I mean, let's face it, it's just hot garbage. I mean, it's just not gonna work the way it is. And even though we're gonna be cutting a large hole in here for a drop box, I'm gonna have trouble with contending with these beads right over here, making the transition to our drop box. So I'm just going to scrap this panel. I'm gonna actually use it as a template, because if you look, it's still close enough on the edges here that once I center it up, I can use it to basically make a new panel. I can mark all the holes, and then what I'm gonna do is I'll drill these through the aluminum with a smaller bit, lay it over, and then start drilling it with an 1/8 inch bit and clecoing it in place so that my holes don't get to look like that one there, which is a huge oval. And I think what happened with the previous builder is he drilled it and clecoed it first, then he bead rolled it, and then went to put it back on and none of the holes lined up. And I don't want to deal with that. So I'm not going to rely on his holes being perfect. I'm just going to get a close kind of location and drill it with a 1/16 inch drill bit, lay it over, and then start kind of clecoing and drilling with an 1/8 inch drill bit to make sure that everything sets in place where it needs to be. And then of course I'll need to cut a large hole in there for our drop box, but I still think that's going to be the better way to go, rather than forcing the issue and working with the panel that we have now. If you're enjoying the content here, please do the like, the share, the subscribe, all that kind of stuff we'll see you next time. Have a great day.